Hi everyone, welcome back to House Polished. We are here to talk about episode 2. I was just saying to the ladies, I'm guessing a lot of this is going to be predictions for tomorrow as well. And I am going to say hello to AU in the chat, and Sunny and Mackenzie. And we have Claire and we have Lisa here. So Lisa, since we got to talk about this episode this week, we're going to let you start first because you're probably dying to talk about this episode. So if you want to give us your rating, your polished choice, favorite quotes, anything that you had from this episode.
Oh God, there was lots this episode to talk about. I'll talk about my polish first. Didn't get a chance to put it on my nails, but I chose For the Watch by Tonic because the reunion between the crows was just the Night's Watch was just so nice to see them all back together. That's why I picked that polish. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. There was things I liked and things that I thought were a little bit filler, but overall I'll give it an 8 out of 10. There were some really good quotes in this too. I think my favorite was when Bran says the things you do for love, and Jaime's face is like, oh my God, he's gonna drop me in it, but he didn't. So.
And Claire, what about you?
Same for me. I didn't get a chance to put the polish on my nails because I picked up Do You Have This Colour in Stockholm this week, and I love it, and I've not been able to take it off. However, I've got to choose the classic. This is like my perfect Game of Thrones polish. You know what it is, and you've both got it. It is Wear It Like Armour, because I believe this episode is all about, there's a lot of kind of everyone's feelings and everyone's in the feelings, as they say. And I think that they're going to be able to use that emotional strength as armour. So Wear It Like Armour. And it's also a very popular polish in the community, and it's meant a lot to Catherine this year particularly. So it being quite an emotional episode, this is the polish for me. And originally on Johnny's channel, when we did our kind of reaction the day after, I said 8 out of 10. Having rewatched it again and I knew it was going to be an episode that I'd think about all week. I'm going to elevate that up to a 9 out of 10 because I've got a feeling there's an even better episode to come that will justify that 10 out of 10.
You're gonna make me cry before we even get into episode 3 predictions. that Wear It Like Armor polish was the polish I wore to my first chemo, in case you're wondering what she's talking about. And it's my last chemo this week. So I am even more excited for this week to start. P Sand is also in the chat. Thank you so much for coming along. My choice this week, I am wearing it, and it is this beautiful sapphire blue. And it's called Dream from Zoya. And I picked it because of Tarth, Sir Brienne of Tarth, and the dream coming true that she got to become a knight. And she was like trying to play it all cool. Oh, no, I'm not interested. But yeah, I think Pod giving her the old nod. I wish she winked as well. But the old nod kind of reaffirmed that she was worthy of it. My rating hasn't changed. It's 10 out of 10. When I do my ratings, I do how much I've been entertained by something. And one thing in teaching, like if you've got a paper that's worth 30 marks, the people who write papers tell you sometimes, especially like in essays and English lit essays in particular, sometimes you get essays that are worth 35 out of 30, but 30 is still the benchmark. So even if I'm still blown away by next week's episode, I'm not going to take this episode down anymore. I loved it. I've watched it about 4 times. Still cried every time. My favorite line on the 4th rewatch was the Hound when Beric turns up and saying, "Oh, for fuck's sake, it's like it may as well be a bloody wedding."
That was brilliant, that interaction.
So good. And especially when he gets terrified that Beric is going to start a sermon. Yeah. So funny. Excellent. So guys, I'd love to know in the chat what your ratings were out of 10. And yeah, we're going to jump into Jaime's trial. So Lisa, the opening of this episode, what did you think of the whole interaction?
So I was surprised at how short it was. I thought we were going to get like a whole episode of just this trial, and it was literally what, 5-10 minutes at the most. That's the one thing that shocked me. I was so proud when Brienne got up and stood up for Jaime and told what all the things that he did for her, and Sansa agreeing with Brienne and saying, I trust Brienne with my life. If she trusts him, then I'm going to trust him too. So not Sansa, Dany did not look too impressed when Sansa had a change of heart and said, okay, I agree. So I don't know what's going to happen there. That we'll get into, I guess, their little sit down chat that they had together, her and Dany, Sansa and Dany later on. But yeah, I don't know how Dany and Sansa are going to get on after what happened.
We can meld the whole thing together. I mean, this kind of Jaime's trial kind of does bleed into Dany's relationship. By the way, chat, I've put the topics in order of how we're going to discuss them, or at least the order that I sent to Claire and Lisa in the description box, so you'll know kind of where the flow of the conversation is going. But yeah, Claire, what did you think of the trial with Jaime?
Yeah, similar to Lisa, I thought it was going to be like half the episode would be the trial, and then the remainder of the episode would be just getting ready for battle. But it was over and done with within like 5 minutes. It was great, but it was a lot quicker than I expected. I think for me, even though I'm not a Brienne and Jaime shipper, this was a proper love story in this episode between the two of them, even though nothing sort of physically intimate like Arya and Gendry, which we'll talk about later. Nothing like that happened between them, and it probably never will. But it was the moment where there was 2 questions that Sansa asked. Do you vouch for him? And she said yes. And Jaime's reaction was kind of like, she's vouching for me. And the other question, which was the smallest amount of hesitation with Brienne, but she said it. But the question was, would you fight in battle with him? I think that was the question. Would you stand next to him and fight in battle with him? And she said yes. And it was at that moment, Jaime's reaction went from she'll bail me out to, oh my God, I will. She's prepared to not just say he's an okay guy, trust him. It's gone from that to I will die for you. And just the look that he gave her in that moment that's why it was no surprise that he went marching straight up to her and said, I will fight for you, I will die for you, I will, it was just, yeah, again, one of those things that I didn't quite pick up on the first watch, but that was really powerful for me. And like I said, even though I'm not a Jaime and Brienne shipper, that was a really powerful moment in the whole bit of the trial.
Yeah, a note to Dany going forward: don't quote your brother Viserys to justify any decisions that you make, because at least Varys knows what he was like. Jorah certainly knows what he was like, and I'm worried because I'm worried for Jorah in episode 3, because I think she's really losing her voice of reason if Jorah is killed. So in terms of what the chat think about the episode, AU gave it 9.5. I think I saw AU saying that was because of the Arya scene. Mackenzie, hi Mackenzie, gives it 8 out of 10 sassy Sansa strategic statements. That was hard to say. I don't think I'm going to say that again. Pisan gave it 8 out of 10. And Mackenzie said Jaime was surprised, but looking back, it isn't like in season 3 where Jaime saves Brienne from the Locksmen. Yeah, that's twice he does that as well. So I wonder, will we see Brienne sacrifice herself? Oh, and now the sun is coming out. I wonder, will we see Brienne sacrifice herself for Jaime twice in the same way that he did? But yeah, for me, this episode, when you watch it back, I think from that scene, it's easy to overlook Varys's reaction and Grey Worm's reaction. I think with Grey Worm giving the sword back to Jaime, I wonder, are we going to see Grey Worm the White and Jaime battle it out? But also, Varys watches Jon's brushing off of Dany as she goes to approach him. So Varys is watching everything. So I think for me, that's what I took away. I'm glad they didn't spend too long on the trial, to be honest, because there really wasn't time for it. Especially if they're going to kill off loads of characters this episode, they need to kind of wrap them up. But
I think the only person sitting there that realizes it's not the time for politics, it's the time to get moving, was Jon. The way he just got up and said that we're done. Okay, let's go. Like, we don't have time for this. We've got, however many 100,000 dead people marching towards us. This isn't the time for this.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it was only 10 minutes as opposed to half an hour, 45.
It looked like he even resented being there. And I think that's him as we get to the end of this episode. He's conflicted over what Dany is really like as a person, and yeah. So you mentioned the Sansa Dany scene. So kind of in general, I'm interested in what you guys thought about Dany's relationships throughout this episode, but particularly with Jon and Sansa. So Lisa, where do you see Dany's character after this episode?
I think Dany was definitely trying to manipulate Sansa in trying to befriend her, talking to her, reaching her hand across the table. But when she realized that Sansa was having none of that crap, like, she kind of went back and like, okay, this isn't working. So I think Dany has underestimated Sansa. She thinks that she can just manipulate her and mold her into what she wants her to be, but she's kind of realizing that's not going to happen now. And with Jon, I think the way that Dany reacted when he told her, "Hey, I'm your nephew," she didn't say, "Oh my goodness, there's another Targaryen here with me. I'm not the last one." Her reaction was, "You have a better claim to the throne than me." That's not a great first reaction to have. I'm sorry, it's not. It just shows how power hungry and how that's, up until this season, I really liked Dany, but I don't know, I don't like her anymore.
I think they're doing it on purpose, though. So, I think they're trying to make her deliberately unlikable.
Yeah, make her unlikable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, I've always liked Dany. I've never been like, there's very few characters that I dislike, to be honest, on the show, especially the main characters that are left. But they're really going out of their way to make her. And I think you're right. I think with Dany, she has won the right to have the Unsullied and the Dothraki on her side. I'm not saying she hasn't, but at the same time, she's not putting people she grew up with on the line for this war to come. I mean, Sansa's putting her loved ones, her neighbors, everything on the line. All of the North, they're putting everything on the line to save them. And I think that's why Sansa brings it up, because she has to bring it up in that moment. Otherwise, when is she going to bring it up? She doesn't have a choice. I'm kind of the opinion that P. Sansa's Targ Bowl is going to happen. Oh, that's interesting. Hi, Danny McKay. How are you? P. Sansa's Dany has always been like this. People just didn't care about the people she would Dracarys before. I think there's probably an element of truth to that. I'm also kind of wondering if proximity to the Iron Throne doesn't, like, if it has an effect on certain people, if it makes you a little bit more mad, even though she's still a little bit away from it. Is there, because Viserys was also kind of mad as well with power. So I think that's going to come back into play. I really liked Sansa again in this episode, and I thought that the scene in particular with Theon, and I said this in Johnny's stream the other night, the interesting thing about that was the camera focused on Dany's reaction to them coming together rather than Sansa like hugging Theon, which we've seen before. And we talked about that last week with the reunions, how Sansa's reunions are always really, really important. And in this case, it was really, really important because it's showing Dany something that she doesn't have. She might have it with Grey Worm, but does she have that with any Dothraki? That kind of bond anymore? I don't think so, right? And she has it with Jorah, of course, and she has it with Tyrion and maybe Varys. I'm not entirely sure. But that kind of genuine love in spite of everything they've been through.
I think she's only got Jorah really at the moment. Missandei and Grey Worm are really kind of wrapped up in each other, although Grey Worm's always going to be honourable and show his loyalties to Daenerys. Somebody said in the comments they thought it was really weird the way Grey Worm reacted to Jaime, how sort of aggressive he was, considering, it was peace. And I thought Grey Worm reaction was weird. He never knew the Mad King and he doesn't know Jaime, but he is very, very, like, almost blindly loyal to Dany. But I think those two are so wrapped up in each other and just kind of doing their own thing that the only person really around Dany at the moment that she can really trust, and you could see the expression on her face change when he walked in the room behind her and she recognized his voice and knew it was him. She smiled like, oh, thank God it's Jorah. You know, I can listen to it. I can kind of be myself around him. He's going to be taken away from her, isn't he? And that will be the thing that just tips her right over the edge, because she doesn't know Varys. She doesn't really know Tyrion. I know these people are kind of twittering around her and looking like they're kind of aligned to her and loyal and Team Dany, but she doesn't know them. And the North and everybody she's a complete anomaly in Westeros at the moment until she proves herself. And that's going to be really, really tricky at the moment when this alliance is so tenuous. I mean, I very much doubt Jon and Dany have slept with each other since the revelation of, by the way, I'm Aegon Targaryen. And she did look quite aggressive in the trailer. The dead are already here. I pretty much think she was saying that to Jon. And so it's just, there's going to be, at the very least, uncomfortable friction, at the worst, outright Dance with Dragons 2.0. So I think there's going to be all sorts of different layers. I don't think it's just going to be a big battle at Winterfell. I think there'll be different battles. I think there'll be an outside one. I think there'll be an inside one in the crypts. I think maybe there'll be something else going on where, I mean, a lot of people this week I've heard have said the Night's King isn't even going to go to Winterfell. He's just going to bypass it completely and ride Viserion straight down to King's Landing. So something like that could be going on. I think there's more to expect than just a thrilling, epic 50-minute sequence of battles in Winterfell.
I think, I think Dany is going to do a runner. I've been saying it since I saw the episode last week. I think she's going to, once she realizes that there is no way the Dothraki and the Unsullied are getting through this, and also potentially if Jon, being like as impetuous as he is, charges on ahead on Rhaegal and Rhaegal is lost, I think something could spark Dany to retreat to Dragonstone, because she got those armies. She might say to herself, I can get new armies, or maybe I'll just go and take the Golden Company. I don't know, but I feel like Dany is going to do something that will irreparably damage her relationship with Jon, even if she doesn't mean to do it, even if Drogon does it, even if Drogon is the one that runs away, and she just happens to be on his back. I think something like that could happen. It's interesting that you said the Grey Worm thing as well, because I wondered in that scene with Jaime, was he angry with Dany as much as he was with Jaime? Like, with Grey Worm's code of ethics, Jaime shouldn't be alive. That's something Dany has killed people for less.
It felt to me like Grey Worm was channeling Dany's frustration, like there's some kind of symbiotic bond between them, this trust and loyalty that's been built up over the years between the Unsullied, between Grey Worm and Daenerys, because she was sat right in the middle, and both to the left and to the right, she got no support whatsoever. And it was done from her perspective, in a pretty underhanded way. It was almost like it was wrapped up in such a way that Dany really couldn't turn around and go, no, I don't care what both of you say, take his head off, that's it. she was never going to. So she's going to be feeling trapped, and also feeling isolated. If you take away a main man, Jorah, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows how she's going to react?
A dragon is not a slave.
Yeah.
And if she feels that she's being a slave for Jon's war, she's I don't think she's going to stick around. Mackenzie says Dany will run away. She will try to maybe persuade Euron to get his fleet, as they highlighted that in episode 7 of season 7. And Pisan says Dany has competition she wasn't expecting in both Jon and Sansa. Yes, Sansa, especially as that like beautiful queen, like Dany is quite warm to people. Like near her, she can be quite warm. Sansa isn't. Like Sansa isn't as warm as Dany is often. But that scene with Theon just really, it broke that kind of veneer that Dany has experienced with Sansa. So I think it was really shocking for her. Do you guys think that Dany is going to make it out of episode 3? Safe and sound? Do you think she'll be living?
I think she'll make it possibly by just escaping, but I don't think she'll make it to the end.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa, what about you?
I tend to agree with both of you. I don't think she'll make it. She'll probably make it to the final episode, but I don't think she'll make it past the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The thing that I couldn't kind of wrap my head around, and we'll get on to Bran later, but I just pointed out now that Bran knew Jaime was coming. He also knew that Cersei's army wasn't coming. So why not tell them that? Because presumably they were planning for another like load of troops to support them.
I think he sees the final outcome.
Yeah.
And the reason that he's really quiet and quite a sad kind of character at the moment is the way he kind of looks around and there's just this numbness behind his eyes, is because he knows everyone, there's just going to be complete decimation. So what's the point really in whatever the battle strategy is going to be? There's not a massive amount he can do. I think he can already see the devastation that'll be the outcome of the battle.
So I wonder, will Sam be the one to twig this? Because he told Sam he was waiting for an old friend. So Sam might be put 2 and 2 together and realize, wait, if he knew that Jaime was coming, he also knew the army wasn't coming. What else is he not telling us? And that might put Sam in jeopardy. This a lot of people think Sam is going to die this episode.
No, I hope not. I really hope not. I think he's got more of a useful role in that. And we get to the end, going forward, being the sort of storyteller. Yeah, but wouldn't it be? I mean, I don't think they've got enough time, maybe, but it would be fantastic if Sam and Tyrion could get together and see if they could come up with some answers, some solutions. There's something there, isn't there? There's something there with Bran that he's not telling, or he hasn't even figured it out himself yet because he's not fully sort of manifested his three-eyed raven powers. But there may be something there that Tyrion can link with what Bran's telling him to perhaps what he knows from history, because we know he's very knowledgeable. Tyrion's definitely got to redeem himself, because for the last couple of episodes, he's been really, he's been a bit like the court jester, really. He's not,
Before we move on to the Lannisters in more detail, will we quickly talk about the Arya Gendry stuff? Because that has been the thing that has lit the community on fire this week. And I think, Claire, you're absolutely right. I think male viewers had a bigger problem with this than female viewers, from what I've seen online. I'm not entirely sure. I guess it's because they've grown up with seeing Arya. I don't know if you saw Macy talking about this, that they actually bound her breasts and curves over the last few years. They've been deliberately making her look more childlike, because she was quite curvy, which I wasn't expecting. But they actually have been hiding that, which I'm not sure if I'm okay with that. But Lisa, what did you think of the whole Arya Gendry thing?
Okay, so I might be an unpopular opinion because I know I've seen so much hate for this scene over the past week. But let's put it in this perspective, okay? She's supposedly 18 in the show, okay? She is consenting adult. She's giving herself away. Where else in this whole series have we seen a woman have the forethought to say, I want to give up my virginity. Nobody else is going to take it, so I want to do this tonight. If it's your last night on Earth and you're a virgin and you want to do it, and she has the will to do it, why not? Like if you look at other scenes, Tommen and Marjorie, that was gross, right? The rape scene with Sansa and Ramsay. Again, these are three scenes where everybody should be some sort of outrage, but everyone seems to just pick up on this one scene because, oh my goodness, a woman has taken the own prerogative to say, I want to lose my virginity, and we don't want to see that. So that's probably I'm probably an unpopular opinion, but that's the way I see it.
And to be fair, Joe Dempsey also found it hard to get over that he was going to have to do this sex scene with a kid he's known since she was 13, but she's 22 now. So I feel like, you may not want to see it, but it's going to happen. So, and there's loads of things that people don't want to see. I don't particularly like seeing people getting decapitated either, but it happens in this show a lot. So yeah, I personally, I just thought, and we talked about this the other night, Claire, I just thought it looked awkward. I thought it was badly shot, to be honest. Because clearly there was a no boobs rule with Macy, and I think they could have done that a bit better. I don't think they needed that weird, awkward shot of her head on. I think it just points to the fact that you can't see her boobs, and it's like, oh, Macy Williams doesn't want you to see her boobs. Here's an awkward shot. It's like, just give us the side shot and move on, kind of thing. I just felt I thought that was badly edited or directed there. So yeah, there's lots of strong opinions on this in the chat, I'm sure. Sunny says I would have liked it better if she was smiling in the morning. So Claire, have you any thoughts on this?
Just to add to what I said really on Johnny's channel the other night, I think, to be honest with you, the main issue that people have, and I think there is a stronger reaction and a stronger negative reaction from men and from parents as well, that have got kids around the same age of when Arya started, when she was like 11 in the first season. I think the main thing is she's got one of those faces, hasn't she, Maisie Williams, that really looks very similar to what she looked like when she was, her face hasn't, I mean, yes, she's matured and obviously she's grown up, but you can tell straight away that it's her. Whereas Sophie Turner, when you look back at her in season 1, she's definitely grown up into a fully fledged, I think it's because she's taller, she's got perhaps more feminine features or something, I don't know, but I think that's like psychologically the thing that a lot of people will probably have problems with is 18-year-old Maisie doesn't facially look that different from 11, 12-year-old Macy. So I can understand people kind of going, that's a bit jarring for me to watch that. I can't, it's hurting my eyes. However, I completely agree with Lisa. She's there's, as far as I'm concerned, there was nothing wrong in terms of the context of this scene. I agree it was a bit weirdly shot, but it was the actress, and the producers had said to her, this is down to you. Show as little or as less as you want, and I did think it was tastefully done, especially the kind of when she's sort of taken her clothes off and he's staring at her scars. But I think we as an audience, given that sort of like can't get our heads around the fact that it's Arya, I think we had to see that tasteful nakedness and the curviness, because it lets your eyes communicate with your brain to tell you, oh yeah, she's not a child anymore. Right, okay, I've got it, I can see it. So it softens the blow a little bit. So I think there had to be that prior nudity, otherwise it would, like semi-nudity, otherwise it just would have felt even more awkward. But I've also got to say, there's a podcast that I've listened to for years and years and years. They don't have many subscribers. It's like a comedy channel. It's three guys, who've been friends for years, and they get together. They're called, the channel is Dexter, Oxnard, and Boss, and they are main show rather than. But although I think one of them has read the books, and oh my God, they were saying this week that they're just that kind of group of people that will say something about Game of Thrones that you haven't heard regurgitated a million times during the week in review shows that you might be listening to. And they were saying, you could have really had some fun with this scene, given that she's a faceless man. And they've started off on this scene about how Gendry would be like, "Oh, be Walder Frey for me."
Oh my God.
And also, as I said, I think I said this on Johnny's channel, but everyone's going on about Gendry. But actually, if you notice, she went to the Hound first before she was blocked by Beric. So, you know,
sick mind. You do.
Woof woof.
AU is going to lose it completely. The Hound and Arya.
That's all I add to that scene.
You know what, Lisa? I haven't seen anyone make that point all week. The fact that we saw Tom and Marjorie sexy, I completely forgot about it. And
Tom would have been what, like 13, and Marjorie's what, 30 something? Like,
and he looked 13 as well.
Yeah, like it just makes me mad that they were okay with that scene, but they're not okay with this scene because a woman's taken their, you know, she's made up her mind to do something.
And to be honest, you know, like I know people in, like, personally who look very young for their age, and they're in their 30s and 40s, and they look very, very young, and it is a massive bugbear for them to be kind of infantilized, and it happens a lot. So yeah, good for Macy. But I totally see the problem. But again, this is a very violent show. The sex is the least of my worries, to be honest. Yeah, so, and AU said she seemed more dissatisfied than I was. I guess you're referring to Arya after the sex scene, because she didn't look all that pleased. Poor old Gendry.
Maybe she should have gone after Pod instead.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind.
He's supposed to be good.
Yeah, he can sing to me whenever he wants. Before that, of course, we had that like flirtatious forgery scene where she scares the guy trying to have his dinner with the dragon glass arrow points. So yeah, like there was a build up to it, and Gendry was kind of staring at her, and he had a bath, and so clearly there was flirting there. I'm not sure. Again, I think the direction was off. I think they could have softened Arya a little bit, and the scene maybe would have flowed a little bit better. But yeah, it's hard to fit in decent sex scenes into what's going to be one of the darkest battles ever filmed for a TV show. And I definitely prefer that to the Cersei Euron stuff, to be honest.
Can we talk about the reaction that a lot of people have had in the community about the morning after look in the bed? That like, oh, that must mean she was disappointed, or Gendry was an underperformer, or whatever. But I genuinely think it has nothing to do with that. She's just thinking through what's happening with the oncoming battle. She's
had a taste of what life is like. This is the girl that's been living death for, for ages. I mean, she did the dragon glass thing, and then prior to sleeping with Gendry, she's practicing archery. Everything is built. Violence just defines her. She's even the one to say to Bran, "Will Dragonfire kill him?" She's constantly trying to work through all the ways to defeat death, basically. And she gets a taste of this, and now she might
exactly. Pisan makes exactly the point, really eloquently, that I was actually trying to make, which is maybe it is Arya realizing that she's got human feelings and she's just not sure how to deal with it. Because that's, I mean, you remember what she was like back in Bravos and through her training and everything. You can't imagine her having some kind of like intimate relationship with anybody.
No, I was laughing at Connie's comment. Arya had to dominate. He's lucky he kept his face.
Yeah.
Who knows what
I
kind
mean,
of kinky stuff she'll be into.
it wasn't she? And I've read somewhere that there's a funny meme this week. Kyle sent a few funny memes around, but one of them about Arya quietly adding the names of the 3 whores in King's Landing to a list that Gendry to be slept with.
Yeah, she's into taking people's faces. He might be into leeches now. It's going to make for a very messy bedroom. But yeah, so I there was so many other great things about this episode though. So let's talk. We mentioned it already. The Tyrion. I kind of bunched the Lannisters together. So did you think Tyrion was redeemed with this episode, Lisa? Do you think they've kind of they're getting back on form with his character? No more dick jokes.
Yeah, last week was a little off-putting, wasn't it, with his balls jokes. I think he's still got some redemption to do with Dany if he still wants her to be on her side. I don't think she's really trusting him right now at all with what's going on. She even says to him, "You didn't know that your sister wasn't sending the army." Like, I think maybe did he know? I don't know. We had that discussion last season. Did he know what she was doing? I kind of think that he didn't. Now with the reaction that he had when Jaime showed up and said she's not coming, maybe he didn't know. But I don't know. There was some really good scenes with Tyrion this episode. He finally got to his conversation with Bran. In episode 2 of the first season, he says, "Wouldn't that be something around long lines of wouldn't that be a conversation to have to find out what happened to him?" And he finally got to sit down 8 seasons later with Bran and have that conversation. It happens off screen. It would be really interesting to find out what was actually talked about. But he finally got that conversation with Bran. So, and he made a comment when he was sitting down at the fire, something along the lines of, "Maybe we'll all live." Did Bran tell him something?
Well, I'm kind of worried that because he said that, he's the only one who's going to live that was by that fireplace.
That's true.
We're
gonna be
all my favorite people are in that room and they're all going to kill. The other thing about Tyrion is it's kind of his idea. The whole knighting of Brienne happens because he accidentally refers to her as Sir Brienne.
Yeah.
So
I
wonder was he subconsciously planting that in his brother's mind.
I would say Tyrion hasn't redeemed himself yet, but I think he has to, and he will in the next episode. Something that was quite interesting, there was 2 people that stood up for Tyrion in this episode, and there's no reason really in terms of where we're at in the story and in the season for anybody to stand up for Tyrion. But Sansa did at the trial when Dany was kind of glaring him down. She sort of stood up, she kind of said it's not his fault. I've definitely made a note in my notes that Sansa defends Tyrion in the trial. And also Jorah, in his own funny little way, stands up for Tyrion as well. He's very much the peacemaker in this episode, Jorah. Both trying to smooth things over with Dany and Sansa, but with Tyrion as well. And I think I mean, was it left when they were all talking round the map of Winterfell, and there was that kind of pre-battle powwow that was going on with Bran there? Didn't they? She said, "Stay in the crypts because you're too important." So she's recognised again, or at least she wants him to feel that yes, you are valued, you are important. But didn't he then argued back, "No, I'm fine. I'll be with Davos on the battlements. I can fight." And I was convinced that it was kind of left a bit up in the air exactly where Tyrion will be next episode. But there have been some pictures that HBO have released where it does look like Tyrion is in the crypts with Varys.
Oh, oops! Bad move, Tyrion. I mean, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard, to go into the crypts. But the Tyrion, Sorry, Luce.
I was just gonna say, especially because everyone's saying, "Oh, the crypts are so safe. The crypts are so safe." Obviously not. Yeah, no. Have nobody else has seen scary movies? No.
And they know what these whites do, right? But the conversation I found interesting with Tyrion, and yeah, Lisa, we were kind of like up in the air about whether he was gonna. Well, I'm still not entirely convinced that he has completely crossed over to Dany's side. I still think he's made some compromise with Cersei, whether he wanted to or not, because we didn't see the end of their conversation for a reason. I also think the conversation that he has with Jaime, which by the way felt very final. It felt to me like one of them is going to die because that was such a final conversation. But he asks Jaime, was the baby a lie? And Jaime says, no, that part's true. And then Jaime's next line is, but Cersei has a way of using the truths to tell lies. And it's like, so is she pregnant? I mean, it sounds, how do you know? I mean, Jaime doesn't seem like he's a master of the female reproductive system, so I'm not entirely sure he can know for sure that there is a baby. I don't know. I don't know what you guys thought of that.
Well, between Jon and Daenerys.
No, sorry, Tyrion and Jaime. So they were talking about Cersei, and Tyrion wonders, was she lying about the baby? And Jaime is convinced she's not. But then he says that Cersei uses the truth to tell lies. So I think maybe that was just for the benefit of the audience, kind of creating more mystery around it.
It's really difficult because you would only know from looking at her with the time, like how long it's been. She doesn't look very pregnant, does she? I mean, somebody had calculated, I think she should be in like the beginning of the 3rd trimester by now, given how long things have advanced. But that's difficult to tell because we've got this ridiculous time traveling, Jaime can be in Winterfell from King's Landing in like 5 minutes. So I think more likely something's going to continue with Euron, and she'll try to pass off, if she is pregnant, as his, that's the prince that you planted in my belly, especially if if she's desperate for allies, if the gold-plated company turn against her. So,
yeah.
So I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm leaning more towards she probably isn't pregnant altogether, and this is just some scheming lie she's making up.
It's interesting because Tyrion cares more than Jaime. And Pisan said that that Tyrion said that line. I wrote it down that Jaime said it, that she always uses the truth to tell lies, but maybe I'm wrong. But either way, Jaime also says later on that his golden line days are gone, or he's done with that. So Jaime is definitely not a Lannister anymore, but I feel like Tyrion still is a Lannister. I don't know if I think if we're going to be left with any Lannister, it will be Tyrion. He also makes that throwaway line about if he comes back, or if he survives, or if he's turned into one of the dead, he'll go to Cersei and kill her himself. But Jaime isn't really listening because he's making googly eyes at Brienne. So, do you think Jaime is going to make it out of this episode, and Tyrion? Do you think a Lannister will die at Winterfell?
I think possibly both of them will make it. I think Brienne will die above Jaime, and I think that I feel like Varys has kind of outlived his usefulness. And that picture of Tyrion and Varys in the crypts, I'm hoping that it's the beginning of the episode, and maybe Tyrion's just helping people to get in there, and he's got no intention of staying, or somehow he gets out of there before people start bursting out of the graves and things. I can't believe nobody's thought about that. They know that he resurrects the dead. That's just so weird.
It's so stupid.
Yeah, yeah.
Also, why isn't anyone questioning Bran's power and what he can actually see and what he can't see? I mean, he could tell Arya last season that he didn't know which road she was going to take at the crossroads. This season, he knows Jaime is coming, but he doesn't know there's an army coming, or if he does, he hasn't told them. So why not push him a little bit more? It's clear that Jon has been talking to him because he's filled in a lot of the details, the intimate details of the Tower of Joy and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like they should be pushing him a little bit more. But I think Bran is going to betray them in some way. It's not going to be a betrayal as such, but I think he's going to sacrifice Winterfell for the greater good in some way, or even for himself. Maybe he needs to die at a weirwood and be absorbed into the network, if you like, in order to ultimately defeat the Night King later. But he's definitely holding back information. I just can't figure out why he needs Jaime there to do that. That's the thing. A lot of people are wondering, is Jaime going to be the one to kill the Night King? Especially because Tormund refers to him as King Killer, not King Slayer. Just to kind of make really, I can't remember who said that during the week, the King Killer. Maybe, was it you, Mackenzie? Maybe it was Mackenzie. But just kind of drawing our attention to the fact that Jaime has done it once, he might do it again. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure where Jaime fits in. I feel like Jaime may die this episode and Arya might take his face. That's what I'm thinking.
Again, he's another one that a little bit like Daenerys, where I don't think he'll die in this episode, but he won't make it to the end. Whereas I think Tyrion will.
Yeah, I think Tyrion talking to Bran may have saved his life.
Yeah. Here's a plot twist. What if Arya takes Jaime's face and then kills Cersei? So she was kind of killed by her brother, but not really.
Yeah, I think that's what we're, and I wonder, did we see those scars for a reason? Is there going to be a weird sex scene with Jaime and Cersei and it's actually going to be Arya? Or the beginnings of it, and then Arya is going to like choke her or knife her or whatever it is. I think it would be interesting because we've seen Arya also fight quite competently with both hands. So having only one hand wouldn't be a massive disability for Arya. So it's a disability, but maybe not as much as it is for Jaime. There was a good comment there now, I can't remember. Pisan said, unless Varys is just there for Dany to kill him. There seems to be, I don't know. Like if everybody in that crypt dies, that's Gilly, Sam, baby Sam, Varys, little girl with the scar, Tyrion. Yeah, that's
a lot of small folk in Winterfell who would then be turned into whites, and it's just going to be a shit show down in the crypts.
Yeah. And then, of course, yeah, well, we might have, like, your theory about whited Gendry running after Arya.
The only reason I think that's a possibility from a show perspective, because we've had this blossoming romance that has now, it's gone somewhere. Even if it is just I need to scratch an itch, and you're the one that I'm kind of looking at the moment, so let's get this sorted out. And he's made her a kick-ass weapon, so, and they've known each other, there's a bond there with each other, friendship, affection, whatever. I think it was mentioned in this episode again, and like Lisa said, we keep hearing the crypts are safe, when Gendry's trying to persuade Arya to go into the crypts, and she's like, no, look at this. And that's when she starts saying, look, I can defend myself, and she's throwing the blades at the wall. I think he's going to end up in the crypts. I think he's going to be possibly one of the ones that dies first. He turns into a white, and that's why in the trailer we see that horrified look on Arya's face, because it kind of links in quite neatly with this blossoming relationship. Like, what would make Arya go, oh my God, the face of death? And it's this humanity that I've just kind of had some connection with. This is just blowing my mind. So I think that could be a potential. So that's my, I always do this at least once a season. There'll be a big bold prediction from me that never goes anywhere.
That's the story of my life. So the next three characters that I've put down: Brienne, Jorah, and Theon. So Claire, do you want to take it away on Brienne?
Brienne, I love her to bits. Her story arc is now complete. She's got everything she wanted, and it's a real story fulfillment for her. And she, now that she's a knight and she's so honourable, I think she has to. There'll be songs written about her, but she has to go down in battle doing something really honourable, like saving Jaime or saving somebody. But I think she's not going to make it, and I would be very surprised if she does, given what happened to her in this episode. That was just a nice little neat closure for her. And as a Brienne fan, I'm really thrilled that she got that spotlight on her. There's so many characters that are deserving of their little moment within the build up to the battle, but it seemed to focus on Brienne, which I thought was just epic. But yeah, I don't think she's going to make it. I think Theon will not make it, and I think potentially he's going to be. I mean, the only thing that makes me hesitate is because I know how popular Alfie Allen is in the role. So I don't know. Maybe they will try to. But again, it's that redemption arc is complete. You know, he dies defending Bran, given that he betrayed Bran to, to give up Winterfell. So I think he might be one of the first line of defense in the Godswood that ends up getting just.
It's going to be heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I haven't prepared for Theon.
And who was the other one that you said, Davos?
Well, Jorah.
Jorah, again, I think has to be the catalyst for Dany just going right over the edge and it being another battle within a battle.
The Brienne stuff was particularly good because she didn't get any lines last episode. We barely saw her actually in episode 1, and she's there in the opening 5 minutes of episode 2. She's there standing up for Jaime, and then she keeps coming in all the way through to that. So they built it very well. They framed the episode around her in some ways. So Lisa, how did you feel about the whole Brienne scene?
I thought it was just beautifully shot. It was so emotional, and it was like Claire said, her arc is complete. She's got everything she ever wanted. Maybe not quite Jaime, but she got him in a little way. I thought it was good where she had that silent conversation with Pod, where he's looking across at her when she says, "I don't want to be a knight," and he's looking at her going, "Yeah, you do. What are you saying right now? You want to be a knight." So it was that whole scene in front of the fireplace it was great acting, although I don't really know what was going on with Tormund and his giant's milk story, but that's something else.
Pure sex,
right? But Jaime, who was it that said only a king can knight somebody? And Tormund says, "If I was king, I would knight you." And Jaime's like, "Here, hold my beer. I'm going to do it anyway."
Yeah. Back off my woman.
Exactly.
That was fun. I bet they had a lot of fun putting that scene together.
Yeah.
And also you've got the Hound and Beric scene kind of interrupted that as well. So, and that was a hilarious scene. So, and it made sense for the Hound and Beric not to be in that room. It's not their thing to be in a room like that.
Yeah.
They don't play well with others. One another, they're fine because they're both like miserable old shits, as Arya would say. But together in that room, I just thought, oh my God, I would love to be drinking wine and just like talking to these guys. And that's one of the best things about Game of Thrones. This next episode, it's going to be grand. Like, it's going to be something we've never seen before on screen. It's going to be huge. And yet to make that big moment for Brienne, so intimate, just in front of a fireplace, and just people drinking, and that whole scene actually with Pod then singing Jenny's song, just shots of people just having a drink, or in bed together, or sharing soup together, or whatever it is. It's all super intimate and personal, and I think if people weren't 100% on board with this episode, I think maybe what's coming in episode 3, they'll look back at the fonder days when they were just drinking soup.
Speaking of that scene with Sansa and Theon eating the soup out in the courtyard, season 1 Sansa would never have done that.
Yeah.
It just shows her arc as well.
Amazing.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, she would never have done that in season 1.
Yeah, right? Whereas Dany sounded a lot more like Viserys in this episode.
Yeah.
And she's tried so hard, but Sansa is definitely again this week. Sansa keeping Royce close to her as well. Just another observation. Just always keeping Royce very close by.
She's keeping the veil in her back pocket.
Definitely, they can't retreat to the veil because they can't actually get into it. But I'm wondering, will they? I mean, I know a lot of fans want Harrenhal or the God's Eye this week, or if they retreat to it. But River Run is also a possibility, I guess. It depends on how they get out of Winterfell. So, Lisa, are you kind of with everybody that this isn't going to work? This battle at Winterfell isn't going to work?
I think there's 2 things that could possibly happen. Either the Night King's not there, he's off somewhere else. When you guys were having your talk with Johnny back, was it Monday?
Mm-hmm.
I said,
yep.
What if Bran has said that he wants to erase history. The Night King wants to erase history. What if he has gone to the Citadel to destroy the Citadel?
Yes.
Because we keep hearing about the books that Sam has. So he's not going to completely erase history because Sam has these books. So that's one theory that I've heard that is kind of intriguing, because it would make sense. If he wants to erase history, where else would you go to erase history? You're gonna go erase where all the books are, where all the knowledge is. You're gonna go there to erase it, and then maybe go after Bran and kill him there. So,
and also,
is this just a smokescreen to have everybody think they're at Winterfell, but they're actually not? Or it's just going to be complete bloodbath, and he's going to take Bran or kill Bran or something.
I think it could be both.
Those are the 2.
I think it could be both. I think you could definitely have a situation where the Night King is... I don't know if they're going to bring in the Citadel back into the show, but in the books for sure, there's Euron is going to take down the Citadel. That seems to be where it's going, and that's where all the action seems to be heading. That the Citadel is going to burn. I also think there's something fishy about Bran saying that all of human history is going to be wiped out when he dies, because there's evidence to suggest that has happened before in Westeros. Like, there's castles there, like the Eyrie and Dragonstone, and then you've got the Sea Stone Chair and all this kind of thing where, well, who was actually... There seems to be evidence of a civilization that was very advanced, potentially, and that was destroyed before, or at least had maybe more access to magic or something like that. But I think the Night King himself has remembered something too, that there's something else driving the Night King other than just pure destruction. I think. I don't know, but I think there's something else. I think there's potentially a little bit of a cover-up. I'm wondering, is Bran going to allow himself to be taken for some reason? Because it suits Bran, right? The mark on his arm. I saw a lot of people asking in Kyle's chat, I think last night, why doesn't he just amputate his arm? But I think it suits him to be marked as well, right? Because he gets to track the Night King too. I have to say hello to Bran. Hi, Bran. And I'm not sure if I said hello to Connie. Hi, Connie. Connie says, Kat, I always feel like a stranger here. Ned, you aren't. You've got 5 northern children. It's your gods with all the rules. Yeah, that's a good point. There's something odd about any side that wants total domination. The Weirwood, anyone who's behind the Weirwoods wants total domination, but also the Night King. Obviously, I'm on the side of humanity, and on the living, I'm obviously going to be on that side. But there's Bran isn't being totally honest. I wondered. I asked in Johnny's chat last night, and I asked in Kyle's. I wonder, is Bran? Is there a reason why Bran maybe wants to help the Night King build his army of the dead? Is this the only way to ultimately take out the Iron Throne, take out Cersei and magic, and to restart or to wipe out this idea of cycles? And is there some reason why Bran, because he's not really helping them win this war? I feel like maybe there's something he knows that he's not letting on. I'm not sure. Do you trust Bran, Lisa?
He's saying a lot, but he's not saying enough. You know what I mean? He knows something, but he's just not telling people. So why would I trust him if I know that he's not telling me everything?
If he's tried to get to Three-Eyed Ravens before, there's a reason he's never got to them before. It was at the Children of the Forest, was it just their magic? Like, if Jaime never throws Bran out of the tower, Bran is never a movable three-eyed raven. So yeah, there's I don't know. It kind of drives my head in. There's a paradox in there somewhere. Claire, any thoughts on Bran?
I don't think Bran knows much more than sorry, that was somebody trying to call me then. I don't think Bran knows much more than he thinks that he's got all the memories of the Three-Eyed Raven and the Three-Eyed Ravens before him, or at least he can tap into those memories, which holds all the knowledge and the histories. I mean, there's an argument that the histories in the Citadel are not the real history. So it's the Three-Eyed Raven and the ability to be able to see through the weirwoods that allows humanity to have that knowledge, that record, those memories. And if the Three-Eyed Raven goes before another one emerges and understands what their destiny is, then that's, and it's been referred to in this season already, basically history doesn't happen, or you're nobody unless it's like captured in a song or a book, or it's, so that will be gone. So it doesn't mean that humanity is going to just, everyone's just going to kind of keel over and die. It just means that there is no trace of it anymore. And as the army of the dead is advancing and everybody's turning, then that balance is knocked out again. It just all becomes the long night. And yes, there has been a long night before. I don't know how many there have been previously. I've just got to bring up, because I think this may possibly have, maybe it's got something to do with it. There's definitely a connection between the Starks and the Night King. And I don't know if any of you have seen the discussion that AU had with Johnny about Winterfell. It was one of their location videos where they discussed Winterfell. And Jon just blew everybody's minds, because he said, just a simple question. And again, it's one of those like really interesting things to think about, but how long has Winterfell had Maesters? And actually the answer was, for quite a long time. 3 of them were there with Torrhen when he bent the knee. So the question is thrown up again by Johnny, which was, well, hang on a minute. Does this mean that the Starks have been masquerading as first men, and that really they're the ones that destroyed the Children of the Forest? And that actually, which blew my mind, because I've had this theory when we've had our reread about a religion hiding inside a religion, or a culture hiding behind another culture, which was just like, oh my God. But I think this goes deep. I think there's massive histories and cycles. I think this is about duality and balance. It's definitely the battle of ice and fire, the big battle that's going to take place this season. And who knows if Melisandre will turn up with the fiery hand, because that will have that component of ice and fire. So maybe she turns up by surprise, like like Littlefinger did in the Battle of Bastards.
Well, there has to have been a time where a battle took place where the children of the forest were in some way directing the whites, right? Where they were the ones that were kind of using the whites, or using the White Walkers, maybe not the whites, but certainly White Walkers in some way, or the Night King himself. There has to have been, for that to have worked out at all for them, which it probably didn't. It seems like human beings, like, again, and I know AU has this as well, where he doesn't trust the children. I think that's right, AU. You shouldn't believe what the children are telling Bran. I think there's a lot of truth to that, because this is the White Walker, the Night King was a children-made weapon. And it's interesting because I just started watching a Discovery of Witches today. I've only watched the first 2 episodes, so don't tell me anything. But it's established in the first episode that in that world, the witches made vampires as a sort of, it seems that they've made vampires as a sort of, that's the story. That's what's believed, that witches have made vampires so far. That's all I know so far, so don't tell me anything if that's not true. But I just like the idea that, like, this mythical creature gets out of hand. It's kind of a similar idea with the Night King that the show at least has presented to us. But there's certainly a lot of evidence, at least in the book, to suggest that the Starks are not all good. But they do hint at it in the show as well, when they are at Winterfell and Rickard says to young Ned, as he's about to go off to the Eyrie, I think it's young Ned, he says, if you have to fight, win. And that's kind of like a win at all costs kind of thing. It's a very Tywin Lannister type of method, right? Or kind of idea. If you have to fight, win. Which I know nobody wants anyone fighting and losing. But just there is that kind of, what will the Starks do to win? What will they win at any cost? And again, it comes back to Bran. What is Bran going to do to win at any cost for humanity? And has he been tricked by the children? Is there something, I don't know if the show are going to actually go into that, if we're going to be sticking with this simple line that it's just the Night King's after him and that's it. But it's fun to think about.
So what do you think the ultimate outcome will be from the battle?
I think that I think it's going to be total destruction of the Dothraki, the Unsullied, potentially the Vale, although I can see a scenario where Royce and Sansa have maybe worked out an escape route led by the Knights of the Vale. She's used them before. He's in her ear all the time. They have definitely built that up. They've definitely made sure that even the casual TV just show watcher is noticed that Royce is there. So I think potentially the Vale, the army of the Vale, or we could have a wolf pack scenario show up and help refugees get away. But how they're going to get away and not, and not have the dead just come after them, unless the Night King actually stops. If he stops because Bran is killed, or Bran is absorbed into the weirwood, or Bran gives himself over to the Night King as a victim, or not even a victim, but just as ransom of some sort, maybe the Night King just wants Winterfell. AU says the Night King dies, but everyone else dies too. I don't know if I want the Night King to die this early. I know that sounds stupid, but what are they going to do for the next 3 episodes? Just deal with Cersei? Maybe. Do you think the Night King is going to die in this episode?
I think there'll be a mixture. I think he needs to continue advancing down into Westeros. Just the map at the beginning of, in the opening credits just is primed for that. that those tiles turn blue and advance further down towards King's Landing. And of course, the golden plated company have got to be there for some reason. I think there will be three major battles going on different levels. There will be 4 actually. There'll be the physical fight outside of Winterfell with Jaime, Brienne, and the troops. There'll be the battle in the Godswood, and that I think will be on some kind of metaphysical plane because you're right there next to the Heart Tree. And I think the Night's King potentially could turn up in both locations. He could turn up in the Godswood and then quite easily appear in the crypts. Mm-hmm. So outside of Winterfell is one, the Godswood is another. Suddenly what's going to just explode in the crypts, and something is definitely going to go on there. And the obvious thing to think about is this guy can raise the dead, and it's the crypts. And you know, how far down does it go? I know Lisa was sharing an interesting article before we went live about the Night's King and the crypts and what the connection might be there. But then I think the 4th battle will be the real humanistic, I still want the Iron Throne kind of battle going on between Daenerys and Jon / the rest of the Starks. Remember Arya saying, yeah, you are a Stark. Remember that. When the time comes, you will need to remember that. I think that's going to be another battle that goes on. And I think at the end, we will have destruction in Winterfell. I think there will be some key survivors, amongst them Tyrion and Sam, who figure out, oh my God, this is how to defeat them. This is what it all means by episode 5, 6. And they then follow further south, the Whites, to defeat them. So there's going to be this situation where you've got the North, and then in the middle, you've got the army of the dead advancing towards the rest of Westeros. But I think in terms of the Battle of Winterfell, there's 2 potential allies that could turn up, or at least components into the battle, which is Mel and the whoever she brings over from wherever she's gone. Hopefully 1,000 fiery hands. But also, if I see a massive giant wolf pack with Nymeria and Ghost, and just this epic, amazing CGI scene where Arya gets saved, and just that I don't care how they end the rest of the season. If I get to see that, I'll be quite happy.
Cersei can have the throne.
Yeah.
I kind of agree. I feel we were asked in Johnny's stream the other night what Stark is going to die, because it feels like a Stark has to die at the biggest battle of Winterfell ever. Hi, Catherine. And Mackenzie said the Night King isn't going to die. He will officially die in episode 5. I think I said that. You said that Night King dies, but most everyone dies too. I feel like I need to prepare myself for practically everybody dying emotionally. I need to shield myself. Bran says Justin Thomas brought up an interesting idea that the Night King lives, is it maybe? But allows man to live, or something like that. Wins, but allows man to live. P-San says Ghost looked tiny in this episode. Yeah, I think Johnny said that Ghost is standing on a box in this episode. I think it's going to be enough Starks to die if it's Theon and Ghost. I don't think we're getting any more direwolves after this episode. I think direwolves are done after this episode.
I do feel that because it's the battle at Winterfell, there has to be, just to justify how dramatic it is, there has to be a Stark that doesn't survive.
I think it could be Bran. Or Arya. It's Bran or Arya. I don't think it's Sansa or Jon. If Sansa is killed in this episode, it'll be the most shocking death.
Yeah,
of
I
the
agree.
Entire series.
Completely agree. Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about that, Lisa. If you have a Stark that you'd like to, not that you'd like to kill off, but maybe that will get.
I didn't catch what you just said there. Sorry, my.
I just wondered, is there a Stark? So we were asked in Johnny's stream the other night what Stark should die, because at Winterfell, a Stark should probably die, right? So who do you think?
None of them.
Yeah.
Realistically, my goodness.
So this
Can we count Theon as a Stark?
I think so.
I really think Theon's not long for this world for sure. Just after his reunion with Sansa and saving his sister, but he's not technically a Stark. I don't want Sansa or Jon to die. Arya, I like Arya too, but it's like who's gonna? Oh, don't want to think about it.
I think so. My only thing with Arya, the Jenny song. So for book readers in particular, that comes into Arya's POV. If you look at the lyrics of that song, it's all about the ghosts that she danced with and the people she loved, and never leaving home and never leaving those people. And you could substitute Arya's name in that. I feel like, her water dancing, her efforts to get home. For me, that could easily be a nod to Arya. Also, they show Arya a lot in the music video for that episode.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. I was going to say, did you see the music video? Because she's like right at the beginning of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's possible. I don't want that to happen, but I can see it.
And dancing with ghosts and there's another line about damp old stones. Sound a bit Braavosi to me. So that's why but she can die and not be dead. She can still, because of this show, she could be resurrected. Her body could be dead, but she could move on. Or not sure how it works. She might steal somebody's face. I'm not entirely sure how that works.
Maybe
actually.
Can I just say hello to Mrs. Shortall?
Oh, hi, Mum. Mum hasn't a clue what we're talking about. We might as well be talking Swiss German. Is that right, Mum? She's just here to say hello.
We're just swapping knitting patterns, Geraldine. You're fine. I think that there's been quite a bit of talk this week about Beric being there and his resurrection skills, and Mel, actually, if she turns up. So there's potential there if a Stark dies. So say if Arya does die, that maybe he gives his last life to resurrect her. I mean, that would be a lot. That would be Faceless Man plus resurrected. But, it's just...
Yeah, Mum said she's lost, yeah. She still watches us, though. Thanks, Ma. She hasn't a clue. I told her, when my sister and when we're talking about Game of Thrones, we're just like, that's it. Like, they haven't a clue what we're talking about when we're at home. But
Mackenzie, Beric, and the Hound. Yeah, so I think that's one resurrection that could happen. So maybe it is Melisandre and Arya. Remember when she said, "I'll see you again, and I see death in your eyes," and maybe she gives her life for Arya, and then we see her as like an old woman again. And
the stakes have to be high for the Starks. Like it is their turf, basically.
Yeah.
I still think it could be Bran, though. So we were supposed to get a Red Wedding 2.0 type moment in this episode as well. And for me, what makes the Red Wedding so dramatic and tragic is just the betrayal involved in it. In fact, all of the big moments, like Ned's death, even Joffrey's death, all those massive shocking moments in this series has involved a major betrayal. And I think we have to get a major betrayal in this episode. I'm not entirely sure where it's going to come from, although if I was going to bet on it, I would say that from the outside, whatever Bran does in this episode might look like a betrayal. Or Dany, if Dany flees or Drogon flees with Dany on his back, that might look like a betrayal. But I think an actual betrayal will probably take place.
Or maybe Jorah, wielding Heartsbane, remembers that he's a Northman.
And does what?
And betrays Dany. And that's her last sort of, trusted advisor. Because he is a Northman, after all. He's from Bear Island.
It could involve Tyrion as well. But I feel like it's going to be Bran, there's that line with Bran as well where he says, everything that brought you to this moment was to bring you home, or something like that. And there's theories that he's saying it's the Night King. There's theories that he's saying it's to Theon. I like the idea that he's saying it to Theon, because I feel like he knows what's gonna, or he has an idea of what has to happen in the Godswood, and it's going to be a betrayal for the greater good. That's what I think. Because even Tywin, now I'm not defending Red Wedding. I just want to put that out there. I'm not defending the Red Wedding. But Tywin does say in the small council meeting, it's the small council meeting, I think, or later, he says, I'll never understand why it's okay to kill thousands of men on a battlefield, but not to kill a few people at a wedding party. And you're like, okay, that's obviously the logic isn't, that's pretty cold, Tywin. But I think, like, in his twisted way, he's seeing a greater good of that. I'm not defending him, but that's his twisted way of seeing it. And I wonder, are we going to get a similar moment with Bran where he knows that he's going to achieve something for the greater good, but it's going to take a huge sacrifice?
I cannot wait to see this episode. I'm not going to be able to get to see it on Sunday. I'll have to wait until Monday.
Nobody talked to Claire until Monday evening. I'm going to
be completely off social media for 24 hours because I cannot. This is the one episode where I just don't want to know what happens and who survives and who dies. So I'm going to be offline until I get home, and I will have recorded it from the night before. But yeah, I wish I could. I can't.
Bran makes an interesting point, because this is something I think I mentioned last week as well. So Euron betrays Cersei, or that has happened. We could also see a Qyburn betrayal, but we could also see if Euron forces Cersei maybe to marry him, or she betrays him. Do you think we're going to get a King's Landing scene in this episode, or is it all Winterfell?
I think it's all going to be Winterfell. I think it will. We remember we've still got 3 episodes left after this one, so I think there could potentially be one around the Riverlands where maybe, the northern troops, fueled by a combination of Bran, Tyrion, and Sam, have figured out some kind of solution of how to end the army of the dead, and it all, I think there's maybe going to be a Riverlands location episode, and there's definitely going to be one in King's Landing where I don't know. That's the only way I can think of how it might go forward, is further down the map.
Yeah, I think Battle of the Bastards and Battle of Blackwater were solely focused on those locations. Maybe I'm misremembering that. I think they were solely focused on the locations where the battles were. Somebody will correct me in the chat. Oh, bye, ma'am. She's off to mass. Yeah. She's off to mass to pray for all those people that we say we're going to die. Thanks, ma'am. They need it, especially those wily Starks. They need it. They're heathens, the whole lot of them, mother. They're all pagans. Something else AU said, oh my Claire, 3 treasons you will know. I guess that's in reference to your point about Jorah, especially if he's to see, say, Lyanna Mormont killed, the future of his house, because he does have that conversation. But Lisa, what do you think? Are we going to get any King's Landing this episode, or do you think it's just going to be Winterfell?
I think it's going to be straight Winterfell. I don't think we'll see anything going on down in King's Landing till the next episode. I'm thinking probably the beginning of the following episode will be Cersei hearing what happened in Winterfell, possibly. So she knows what her threat is at that point. Because she's got to have some sort of a spy in Winterfell. I think she's got to have somebody there telling, leaking stuff to her. That's what I'm thinking somewhere. Who it is, I don't know, but I think she's got some sort of a spy. Is it Tyrion? Who knows?
It would be interesting if we got like a cold open, like before the credits, that with something like that, and then we move straight into Winterfell. That would be cool. Yeah. Peter has dropped in. Has he? I just saw you say hello. Hi, Peter. How are you? So any other comments about this episode? Any other predictions that you want to talk about? Who is? I know, Claire, you had a list of 8 people that you think you've probably. That's probably increased substantially since.
As you watch it more times.
I think there can only be one remaining from Grey Worm and Missandei. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, everyone's going to expect it'll be Grey Worm in battle, but maybe it's not. Maybe he survives and Missandei dies in the crypts. But either one of those two, I think Tormund, I think the main fighters, so Tormund, Ed, Beric, Theon, Jorah, Brienne, Gendry possibly, although I think Gendry's more going to be located in the crypts. But I think they could all potentially die in battle. In the crypts, I think it's going to be Varys, Gilly, maybe Davos. Sorry, Kat. Maybe. I think that Gendry, something's going to happen. Horrible is going to happen to Gendry. And I think what would make it even sweeter is that does, obviously, people have said this week, harks back to Gendry and Arya getting together in this episode, is a throwback to Robert in the first season, first episode. Why don't we join our houses? My son, your daughter. But it was obviously a different son and a different daughter. If Gendry dies, but Arya is pregnant.
Ma'am, just if you're still listening, before you go to mass, can you light a candle for Davos while you're there? Thanks very much.
Sorry, Kat.
Hey, AJ, how are you? I'm trying to ignore Claire's comments on Davos, although I am very worried about him. The Grey Worm Missandei thing, they've focused a lot on that relationship. I wonder, is it a case where we're going to see a whited Grey Worm take out Missandei, or him have to take out a whited Missandei of some sort? That would be horrific. Lisa, what about you? Who do you think is on the chopping block?
Brienne, unfortunately, I think her character arc is over. Same with Theon. I don't see those two making it out of this episode. Gendry as well. You know, have you ever seen, scary movies? You don't have sex, you die. That's probably going to happen. And I think Grey Worm was also on my list. And Jorah. Those were the ones that were on my list. So maybe even Lyanna Mormont too. The way that she was refusing not to stay in the crypts. And they said, "Good fortune to you, cousin." Is that her writing her own death certificate too? I don't know. Possibly.
I just want to say thanks, Mammy. Davos is safe. Thank you, Mammy. I don't mind Claire. Yeah, I know, Ma. She's terrible. She's an awful bully. I'm worried for Jaime and Arya. I'm not entirely sure where this is going to play out, but Jaime, it seemed to me that he wrapped up a lot of his arc this episode. The only thing I would say about Brienne, while I do think that she may not be that safe, I do like the idea that she would go on to become a Kingsguard as well. Now I know there's precedent for a knight not being a Kingsguard, like with the Hound, but it would be great to see her as a knight also then become a Kingsguard or a Queensguard, indeed. So that's the only thing. I'm worried for Ken's making fun of me.
I think there needs to be a kind of martyrdom figure created from Brienne. I think she needs to be remembered in songs as the knight, the female knight, rather than survive as much as I want her to and as much as I love her as a character. I think she will have more impact in history as the maiden knight who died in the huge battle.
So, which suggests that somebody from that room has to be there to as a witness to have that ceremony having taken place. So it's probably going to be Davos. What about Pod then? Do you think Bran is talking about Pod, that there's parallels with Egg and Dunk and Egg, Brienne and Pod? will either of them make it? Will one of them make it? I'm not sure. I can see, because people are going to have to take out whited versions of their friends, and vice versa. Whited versions of our favorite people are going to take out their friends and family. That has to happen because that's the nature of this type of war, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to see a whited Hodor? I
Yes.
really hope not. That would break my heart. It would like rip my heart out of my chest completely.
I think we will definitely see whited Hodor. Whether we see whited Summer or not, I mean, if they don't even give us a live direwolf, I don't know if they're going to bother giving us a zombie direwolf.
Well, maybe if they don't do that, they can bring Cersei's elephants in.
Yeah, well, elephants will have to be easier than the fur on a dog. Apparently, it's the fur that's the problem. Claire, sorry, go on.
Looking down my list, and my eye dropped to the name Ed from The Watch, and there are just some lines in this episode where you go, "Oh my God, that's it. That's just sealed your fate." When he said, "The surviving among us bury, burn the others." That's that's a Night's Watch thing, isn't it? When they're going into battle or they're ranging or whatever, if they're facing danger, and there's a group of them, the instructions are just make sure that you burn the dead if you're the one that survives. And when he said that, I just thought, oh no, bye Ed.
Yeah.
Let's just hope somebody burns him rather than him turning into a white.
Yeah, they mentioned that they do have a fiery trench, so however they're going to use that, but that might protect them from whites completely overrunning Winterfell, but it won't stop the White Walkers. And there's a lot of White Walkers. They showed us a lot of White Walkers in the preview. AJ said Hodor is actually going to hold the door, but this time allowing the White Walkers to get through it and kill Bran. Lol. Sorry, Lisa, that was a bit of a cruel.
And
there's loads of cruel Davos ones, so
You know what? It's still too soon for Hodor jokes. It's still too soon.
Well, there are lots and lots of secret tunnels down in the crypts to get into and out of the crypts. That's what Maester Lewin in the first season referred to. Do you remember when Bran and Rickon were down in the crypts with the direwolves that had a dream about their father? And Maester Lewin was there, and he was talking about the alluding to secret passages. So yeah, oh my God, maybe Maester Lewin's whited.
Well, the thing is, we know that whites have some sort of memory of like they're not completely stupid. I mean, when the Hound throws the rock on the frozen pond, they realize what's happening, and then they can move across. It's not like they're completely brainless. There's also some suggestion in the book that whites have retained some kind of brief memories from their living days. So if Hodor is down in the crypts, he may have a kind of a bit of a memory. I just wonder, will we ever, how much they'll go into that? Maybe in the prequel they'll go into how much the Night King has access to your previous life if you're a white, and vice versa. That I'm going off topic completely. What about our wildling friends, Gilly and Tormund? How do you feel about them?
I love Tormund. I don't want to see him die, but I think he probably will too, because I can't see his character going much further. He's got no big woman anymore because Bran's going to be gone.
Yeah, I think
I did want to mention something about Gilly.
Yeah,
I noticed something when I was watching Gilly. I don't know if it's just the actress or she looks pregnant.
I think she was pregnant. in that shoot.
Like the actress was pregnant. I'm like, She looks pregnant to me. I'm like, is she pregnant with Sam's kid, or is she just pregnant like the actress was pregnant? So
no, because they did a really awkward shot of her, and it's like, oh, they're trying to hide.
Yeah,
I remember any old X-Files fans out there, those days when they used to try and hide Gillian Anderson being pregnant. It kind of got ridiculous. Yeah. That kind of reminded me of that.
I didn't know if they were going to write that into the show or not. But.
Yeah. So yeah, and baby Sam, I think one of them has to survive. I think we have 3 wildlings pretty much left: Tormund, Gilly, and Sam. And I think the odds for me that baby Sam is going to be the survivor, but I'd like Gilly to survive over Tormund, to be honest. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate, but I'd like there to be a payoff for Gilly's character and the literacy and the journey she's been on. She's grown a lot. So has Tormund.
Maybe that, but I think that baby is crucial. And I've just said in the comments there, well, that's why I think the crypts are so vulnerable, because Gilly's in there with baby Sam. And I think potentially it's because that baby could be either the baby could be either one thing or another, which would be either potentially the next Night King, or potentially the next three-eyed raven. So it's that baby has the power, the ability. It's the 100th. If you link this to the books, it's the 100th baby. That should have gone exactly the same way as all the other male Craster babies, but didn't, survived, and is now in the crypts at Winterfell. So that wherever that baby is going to be vulnerable in terms of the Night King, because I think the baby could be used for manipulated into either one of those two things.
And that brings up an important point, that both the children and human beings are culpable in creating this army that's now on the march. Craster is responsible for adding to this. And he can't be the only one. There have had to have been other humans in the past, potentially Starks, that added to this army too. Because he can't as many females as he had to make babies with, he can't be the only one that has helped create this. So AJ can see Gilly sacrificing herself to save the baby. And to save that little girl. That little girl is going to be important, I'm guessing. And then we've got Dany and Jon, and I think the news that Dany has had is going to shake her to her core, and it's going to have an effect on whatever plans she makes or whatever decisions she makes in this episode. But she's a great family reunion coming up, Dany McKay says, for Gilly. Yeah, it's going to be great. All selfies all around. So that's it really, unless you guys have any other comments. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this emotionally, but
no, I know it's going to be really difficult. Wow, I just hope that we can see it rather than just hear it, and it's not all in the dark.
I was a little bit. I'm hoping they darkened their trailer significantly so that we couldn't make things out.
Yeah.
But it was very dark, that trailer.
I've heard all sorts of things this week, ranging from a whited Littlefinger, all the fresh kills and recent kills at Winterfell being resurrected. I mean, just a barrage of characters that could, from Ned right through to Maester Lewin and Littlefinger. There's Ramsay even. Oh my God! So maybe that is the reaction that Arya has in the crypts in the trailer. She's definitely seen somebody, or being that kind. I mean, she looks scared, and we've not seen Arya scared. I mean, look how cocky she's been and sassy she's been in the last couple of episodes. So wow, that's going to be something.
Unless she's acting, whoever's chasing her, she's acting for that for who's chasing her.
Yeah,
because I mean, she trained blind with that staff.
Yeah,
she can use a staff in the dark.
Yeah.
So is she playing to whoever she's up against? Like, is there going to be a battle in the dark with her and whoever she's?
I just think she's also destined to take somebody's face before she dies again, because that's the whole thing. Now she's a faceless man.
That card has to be played again for sure.
It's just. I would think so. Why else would they go on that journey?
Yeah, exactly. So it's gonna have to be something epic for her, maybe right at the end. But
as worried as I am about losing a lot of our favorite characters, I'm also worried that it's going to be anticlimactic, because there's been such a huge build up to it, and I keep thinking about the episode. I think it was episode 6 6 of season 7, where they went north to get the white. And I remember talking to you guys, and we were like, "Oh, Beric's gonna die, and Jorah's gonna die," and we'd expected, and in the end, it was just Thoros and a couple of red shirt Starks, or wildlings, or whoever was with them. So
maybe we're being too pessimistic. Yeah,
but I think they will be killing off a lot. They've been easing us into it this episode with lots of warm reunions, and now it's going to get cold. So we will be back this time next week, and hopefully we'll be in one piece, emotionally and psychologically. And so thank you everybody in the chat for being here. So Lisa, what were you saying?
I said we'll still be crying on the floor, rocking back and forth.
Yeah. So
especially with Hodor.
Yeah. So Lisa and Claire are linked down below. As always, you have videos coming out tomorrow, Lisa?
I do. I actually have a tribute to you tomorrow.
To me?
To you.
Oh, I'm going to be crying before the episode. Oh, thanks, Lisa. And Claire, do you have a tribute to me? Because it can't be Lisa's.
It can't be Lisa's.
After bullying me over Davos.
I don't know how I'm going to get through this week. I mean, I've got stuff to do. I've got work. I've got training courses to attend. I'm just like, this is just going to be incredible, and everybody's reactions to it. And I don't know. I mean, P-San said, you can imagine if no one dies and there are no major deaths. That would be a shock. But yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait for it, and I can't wait to chat to you both about it next week.
I can't wait either. And just a heads up, folks, it'll be audio only from me next week, because I am doing my last chemo this week.
Yay!
And so I will definitely have that to celebrate. Thanks so much, Lisa. I'm so excited about your video. And Claire, I hope the training goes well and you don't get spoiled on Monday.
Oh, me too.
And anyone going to Endgame, I hope you enjoy it. And we can talk more about that next week, maybe. So enjoy episode 3. I hope your favorite character doesn't die horribly. Bye, everybody.
Bye.